Ni hao, my worldly friends. I'm Sam Rios, and I love to travel off the beaten track. Now, honestly, I really do. I get a massive kick out of it. But this time, it's all about amazing China, like a mind-bogglingly diverse country, and one of my absolute favorites. So you're in for a treat. With my trusty scrapbook in hand, I virtually traveled to places where virtually no English actually exists. I'll tell you how I did that and all the experiences that came from it. It's worth staying through till the end of the video because I'll go through and explain some really cool places that's worth checking out when you are ready to adventure to where no people venture before. So, let's do this! Okay, so I've travelled and I'm now in Beijing, and if you're like me, you start in Beijing. There are of course some really cool places to see before you venture deeper into the country. But I'm not going to talk about any of those. Let's skip further into my trip to a point where there's no tourists whatsoever, or tourists that I don't actually come across whatsoever, apart from the Chinese. They love to travel. But the beauty of the scrapbook are the little notes that kind of help me get by. So, like a logo for the taxi services, or maybe the underground tickets. Point to these and maybe the local can point you in the right direction for when you're after, when you're a little lost. I mean, here is some instructions in Mandarin. There must have been some good instructions because I'm still here alive. Now feel free to pause because I'll be flying through some of these places. And excuse my Mandarin because I haven't practiced it in a long time. So first there's lots to see in Beijing, of course. Then you have Datong. And then you've got the Great Walled City of Pingyao. From there, pretty much every single traveller I spoke to was saying, yeah, I'm going to Xi'an for the Terracotta Warriors. Sure, why not? But it's not, I got a little bit put off because I tend not to do the same thing that everybody else has done. I don't really get my kick out of it, that's not really my thing. So I looked into the guidebook and then, Kaifeng, that looked alright. So yeah, just a sidestep away and I was in no traveller territory. In Kaifeng, the biggest night market I had ever seen in my life. It was great. So as I sat there, eating my noodles, they approached some local businessmen. They offered to buy me my drinks and pay for my food. Sounds a little weird, right? But nah, don't worry about it. They were super friendly. And honestly, they just wanted to practice their English. I mean, when I was traveling through China, so many people did this and it's a great way to communicate, considering they've probably never seen a brown English guy before in their life. I mean, look, we had a great time. And the only way we communicated was through this tiny little translator. And after Kaifeng, then I visited Xi'an. Now further into the west is where it got really interesting, where there's no written English anywhere whatsoever, not even in local transport. So from my trip from Chengdu to Litang involved memorizing the Mandarin letters and asking the driver to ensure I actually got onto the right bus. I mean, it looks like a small H is having a fight with an X, and then... I mean, I have it written down. Luckily, the guidebook actually had it noted down as well, which makes it really easy to figure out your next destination in Mandarin if you ever come across a position where there's no written English. Super useful. Oh man, honestly, the journey was beautiful. Going high up into the mountains, 4,000 meters high up into the air from sea level, and kids were puking up all over the place. Stepping into Litang was like stepping into a movie set, with their cowboy hats and their rosy cheeks since they're closer to the sky. The town has this monastery as well, stunning. It's like something from Tibet. I mean, this is something where you really need to get your camera worth and your can-do attitude because this place is totally worth visiting. For nature's beauty, at its most magical, look no further than Anshan for its massive caves, towering waterfalls, serene beauty, and funny dancing guides. I mean, they helped me to get to my destination, and they were a great laugh. Oh my God. At the end, this young gent and his dad offered to buy me food for no reason other than just to kind of hang out with me, really, which is great. See, this is what I'm talking about. The locals are really interested in getting to know you, even if they have no English skills and you have no Chinese skills. And that feels like the essence of getting off the beaten track. Food in China is super tasty, and with every province having its own speciality, it's just a melting pot. But if you're not careful, you could end up ordering a soup of chicken heads. So, yeah, true story. But do this, right? Next time you have a dish that you really enjoyed, get the locals to write it down in Chinese. So here's one I did in my book for egg tomato and noodle, one of many. And this is my go-to dish that they cooked all over the country when I struggled with anything, when you don't understand anything on the menu or there's no pictures whatsoever. So that was really helpful. Make all these kind of like local notes in the book just to get you through. But this one time in Jiaoxing, I actually had to act out like a chicken just to get a meal. Oh yes, Jiaoxing and Zhejiang. Two incredible places where traditional cultures and methods is alive and well. Every house and gate is of traditional wood built surrounded by valleys of rice fields. And the people that work these rice fields are tough as nails. I came across this one lady. She didn't look like she was struggling, but I thought, you know what, I'll help her out. So when I offered, she just threw these two heavy baggages over my shoulders, really weighed me down, compressed my spine. But I'm like, okay, I'm good. And so she just said, right, let's go. You know, no hesitation. So I was trudging along in the heat, the humidity. Every time we came across a cross junction in the rice fields, I'm like, all right, well, are we there yet? Are we done? And she's like, no, keep going. I felt like I was going for a mile. People were laughing, commenting along the way. It's like, hey, look, you got this tourist traveling all your stuff for you. But look how happy she was. So that's what made all the difference. I mean, it's not like she really needed the help, to be honest. Even though I came across very little travelers along the way, especially those last two villages, you do have to be wary because the Chinese love to travel their own country. So if you don't check the local holidays, you'll get this. Yep, there they are. Now, I only showed you a handful of stunning places that you can visit in China when you do go off the beaten track. But, you know, when I tell you about China next time, and I really should, because I'll tell you more about Tiger Leaping Gorge, how I almost risked my life like twice. It deserves its own episode, to be fair. But hey, some good news. At the end of the month, we're going on a little adventure.
Hey, where are we going?
Well, you're going to have to follow and subscribe so we can tell you a little bit more of the adventure that's to come.
Can't wait.
So, till next time, Bukachi, Zishian, follow us for more from the Tales from our Scrapbook. Let's go.
他是我了还情。